Hello everyone. Sorry for the long wait between the last video and this one. Something's been happening. I'll have some videos coming up on what's happened in that time. But today I wanted to talk about my caregiver. So if you remember from the video with Nurse Joy, the first time I had to go to the hospital, Nurse Joy had asked who my caregiver was. Well, that struck me as odd because I never thought that I would need a caregiver, not until I got older, you know what I mean? My 80s or something like that. So when she asked me that question, I was like, who's my caregiver? And then Margaret says, I'm his caregiver. And I'm like, yeah, she's my caregiver because, well, she's going to be the one taking care of me, getting me to and from my appointments, making sure everything's okay, making sure I'm taking my medicine on time, because chemo brain will make you forget stuff, and just making sure things are going the direction they need to be going, So I want to tell you about my caregiver. My caregiver and I have known each other since I was 10, 11, which would have made her 8 or 9. Now, see, our families go way back. My dad used to work at a place outside of Kerman called Valley Nitrogen. It's not called Simplot. And it made chemicals for farming. Okay. Well, Margaret's dad, Raphael, he worked there also. So my dad was a pump maintenance mechanic. My dad had no schooling. He dropped out of school because he had to work. And so he was an incredible mechanic, self-taught, and he had these big old books that he would read, but he could fix anything, tear it apart, put it back together. He was really, really good at that stuff, right? Now, my father-in-law after he got out of the military, went to school to become an electrician. So he was working at Simplot as an electrician. So the two of them met. They got along. Actually, they got along pretty good because they kind of had similar stories. They were both born in Mexico. They both had to work hard early to help their family. They both immigrated to the United States. And they both worked really hard at building a life for themselves and their family. So they got along well. So my father-in-law's family, they have a thing called the Montalvo's Club. And they also, during that time, they had a softball team because they were all young back then. So they were all in like their, early 30s. That's crazy. They were in their early 30s back then. And they needed an extra player. So Raphael asked my dad, would you want to play for us? I need a right fielder. I need a couple more players. So my dad's like, yeah, sure, I'll go play. So now my dad was not I shouldn't say he wasn't an athlete, because there were glimpses of an athlete in him, but because he never had the chance to play, because he was at the work, and then he quit school, that athlete never came out. But you could see little glimpses of it every now and then, right? So when he played, he did good. So there, I met Luz, which is Margaret's mom. Met Margaret, met Lucinda, and that's a sister. So it's Margaret, and then her sister Lucinda, and then Juana. But Juana was real little. So we'd go watch my dad. Me and my brother, we'd sit up in the stands and watch my dad and stuff. And they would be down there running around to get to meet the rest of the family, all the Montalvo brothers, their families, their kids. Got to meet the Salazar family, which is my mother-in-law's family. And they're really close. So my father-in-law, so Raphael married Luz. And then Raphael's brother, Raul, married Irma. Irma and Luz are sisters. Raphael and Raul, brothers. So brothers married sisters. And so that family's really close. So it's like one giant thing, So I got to meet all of them. And then growing up, as we played basketball at the junior high, they would show up, the Salazars, a couple of Montalvos, and some of the Acostas. They would show up and we would play basketball against them. So here we are, junior high, maybe high school, and we're playing against these guys during the summer. We play and play and play. So I got to know all of them really well. Knew Margaret, kind of, say hi, that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So anyway, so I've known that family for a long time. So then we get into high school. She's a freshman. I'm a junior. I know who she is. So we go on band trips, and my dad would take extra care to make sure Margaret had everything that she needed. Because my dad and Raphael were friends, my dad wanted to make sure that Margaret was okay. And that, if she needed anything, she knew how she could go talk to my mom and my dad. They would offer to buy her stuff and make sure she had money, ask if she needed anything. So it was kind of like my dad wanted to make sure that his friend's child was okay and taken care of. And I feel like Raphael would have done the same for me in that situation, So excuse me, I drink water. So it's my junior year. It's the end of the year party, and so we're at Round Table in Kermit, and the band's there, and everybody's leaving. I'm driving by this time, so everybody's leaving, and she had been trying to call the house. Remember, no pagers, no cell phones. It was way back, caveman days, and nobody was home. And so people were asking, like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I can't go home. I can't walk home. I don't know if I'll just stay here. I guess I'll just stay here. And we're like, no, you can't just stay here. So I just said, why don't I just drop you off? And she goes, well, I can't go home with strangers. And I kind of like, no, I'm not a stranger. Your dad, my dad, our families know each other. It'll be okay if I take you home. Make sure you get home safe. She's like, oh, so she said, yes, finally. Drive her home. It's just not me and her, it's me and some other friends in the car too. I was driving up and dropping off like 3 other people. So drop her off first, because she was closest. So dropped her off first, and her parents and her family had just gotten there from Fresno. So when she shows up and they're like, how'd you get here? She's like, well, Hector brought me. And then like, Hector who? And we go, Hector Aguilar. And her mom's like, well, why is Hector Aguilar the man bringing you home? And she says, no, Hector Jr. brought me home. I've been trying to call and you guys weren't here and everybody was gone. I would have been the only one there. And he didn't want to leave me there by myself. And they're like, oh, Hector Jr. Okay, that's fine. You're okay. That's good. And so that was kind of cool because, they trusted me to make sure that their daughter was going to get home. And they didn't have an objection to that. So that was kind of cool. That made me feel good about what they thought of me. So years go on. So senior year comes and she's not there anymore. She's gone. She had left. So I didn't see her. And it was years. I didn't see her for a while. Found out that she had moved to Tranquility. San Joaquin, went to school in Tranquility. And so our lives went in different directions. I graduated, went to college for a little while. Working, that kind of stuff. So one night I'm working at Say Martin Kerman. I'm a produce guy. It's a Saturday night. I'm closing. So I got to do a whole bunch of stuff. It was hot. It was busy. I was there the majority of the time by myself in the evening. There's a lot to do. And then my friend shows up and he's like, hey, why don't you come over to my house after you get off? Because we're having a birthday for my brother. A birthday party for my brother. And I'm like, dude, man, I'm tired. I'm all sweaty. I just want to go home, take a shower, grab something to eat, and just relax. He's like, come on, man. Come on. It's my brother. Come on. I'm like, all right. I'll go. So I didn't want to go. So I didn't go home. I just, so you had to wear a collar shirt and a tie, right? And a t-shirt underneath. So I basically just had a t-shirt on. It was kind of cool at night. So I had a Levi jacket I put on, and I'm like, whatever, let's go like that, right? No big deal. Just gonna hang out with the guys anyway. So I'm sitting there with the guys. We're all talking and having a good time. And then out of the back door of the house, we're in the backyard. And out of the back door of the house, it opens up. We see some people walk out, and then I see Lucinda walk out. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen her in a long time. And then all of a sudden, Margaret walks out. And I want to tell you, everything just stopped for me. Everything. It was like a moment frozen in time. It was just, I was awestruck. I was just blown away because I had not seen her since her her freshman year, my junior year. And I was like, wow, man, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It was, for me, it was breathtaking. It was like those cheesy movies where it's like, oh, the kind of thing. It was like that. Man, she was like sunlight, man. She was just gorgeous. And then I was like, wow, I haven't seen her in a long time. And so one of my friends, he's like, oh yeah, this. And I was telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, how do you know all this stuff? And he goes, dude, I'm Kerman News. I know everything. I'm like, shit, he's so stupid, man. As we're all laughing and stuff, right? No big deal. She goes over, she's sitting with some friends and they're over there and we're like a ways away from each other. And they're like, go ask her to dance. Like, you go ask her. Yeah. Nobody wanted to ask her to dance. She was that stunning that we were all intimidated to go ask her to dance. We didn't want to walk all the way over there and then her tell us no and then walk all the way back. It was very intimidating. So after a little bit of going back and forth and we're trying to tease each other into going, I just finally said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go. And they're like, yeah, I'm not going to. Now she's going to say no. And I said, no, I want to go. I'm going to go. And inside I felt, no, she won't tell me no because we know each other. And so she won't tell me no. At least I won't look like a complete idiot. And so I went over and I asked her to dance. So we started dancing. We danced maybe 2 or 3 songs and stuff. And then we just started talking. And we went outside the house. And next to the house, there's this an abandoned church that was there. And so we sat on the steps. And there was other people outside the house too. There was people in the front of the house talking and hanging out. People inside the house hanging out. People in the backyard hanging out. Everybody was really, just having a really nice, calm, chill time, right? And we just talked and we talked and we talked. And I don't know, I didn't want to stop talking to her. So then I eventually asked her out on our first date, and I didn't want to do something dumb, like, hey, let's go to the movies. Hey, so I said, you want to go to the zoo? She's like, yeah, let's go to the zoo. So we went to the zoo, right? I had a great time. And I want to tell you something, man. I was bumbling and stumbling, man. I just felt like just felt like a dork hanging out with this beautiful young woman, and I'm like, I felt mismatched, I guess. Good thing I know how to talk, or else I would have probably hid behind a bush or something. But anyway, so we just talked. We had a great time. We talked. I think we did have dinner. Then we went back home. Took her back home. And then we've just been talking. We just can't. Day from there, every day. And after that first day that we spent together, and we just walked around the zoo, sat on a bench, and when we just talk, and we'd find another bench and we would just talk. And I made some cheesy line to see if I could, how big her hand was, so I could hold her hand and stuff. And, it's so ridiculous, When you look back on that stuff, it's just, oh my gosh, it's terrible. And I went home that day, and Margaret always tells me that this is the one thing that my mom told her that just blew her away. But I went home that day, and I told my mom, I'm going to marry her. I don't know. I think it was because I could say anything to her. I could say anything to me. We could be open. I didn't criticize her. She didn't criticize me. It was just, she didn't make fun of me. I didn't make fun of her. Or I should say that she didn't ridicule me, and I would never ridicule her. And so I was just comfortable. I was like, I was home. This is where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted to be every single day. And so we started dating. We ended getting married, our first child. I think Ariana was 2 years old. And I think when she was 2 years old, we made like $19,000 combined that year. And then the next year we got better jobs, and we went from 19 to 52,000, I think. That was a good chunk of change back then. We bought ourselves a really nice little Jetta. That was the one owner. She kept it really clean, had all the paperwork on it, all the maintenance work on it, everything. And we drove that thing all over California. Went to Tijuana. It was a blast. We had so much fun. My grandma remember telling us, "You guys are never home. How come you guys are never home?" And we're like, "Grandma, we're having fun. We're getting to see stuff. We're enjoying our lives together. And it was so easy because Ariana, you put her in the back seat. She's little, right? You put her in the back seat, and she's wide awake. She hardly ever really fell asleep unless we were driving for a long, long time. But man, she was wide awake, looking at the roads and just having a good time. She was enjoying herself. She was so easy to travel with, right? And so we started building our life together. And it's been 31 years, 30 years, 31. It's been 31 years that we've been building this life. 33 altogether since we've been dating. And man, we've gone through some stuff, because when you're together for that long, you're going to go through some stuff. And we've hated each other. We've loved each other. We've aggravated each other. We've done all of these things to just get under each other's skin. But I'm gonna tell you something. I knew very early on that I needed to find someone. I needed to find a woman who was smarter than me, as independent as me, and strong-willed like me. Because if I didn't have those three things, I know myself. And I needed somebody to continually push me, aggravate me, motivate me, challenge me, comfort me, love me. And those components, those beginning components, had to be in that person, because I cannot be a very nice person sometimes. I cannot be I don't say good person, but just I can make the wrong decisions. And so I needed that person there, right? Because I knew that I could do that for somebody else, but I needed somebody to do that for me. And she does. She challenges me, and she pushes me, and she loves me fiercely. She loves me fiercely. So I just know that my caretaker, well, she's not here for the money, that's for sure. But, you know, what life has taught us, what life has taught me in all of this so far, is that as long as you have somebody who has your back no matter what, who will stand in front of you even when you don't want her to, will push you and motivate you when no one else will, right? You know, we get into this thing where, well, I don't want to be too mean because I love him or I love her. Well, are you being mean? Or are you letting that person give up? Are you letting that person slide? You know, I don't consider that mean. And if you love somebody that much, then you push that person because you know what that person is capable of. It's like a coach, right? I've coached for a long time. I should say I coached for a long time. And I always pushed. And if I didn't push you, that's because I knew you couldn't either physically or mentally give me what I want. Well, she pushes me. She coaches me. So I'm going to show you a picture of us. This is when we were first dating. Okay, this is this is my most cherished gift. My sister-in-law, Awana, Margaret's sister, she gave it to us. I'm going to drink water again. So this is us. So look at that. Aren't we just so damn cute? So young, had no idea what was in front of us. We just wanted to be together, spend time together. It was, I love this gift. It makes me so happy to look at it. It makes me happy because we beat a lot of odds. A lot of odds. People used to look at us like we were, well, I mean, we look pretty young, right? We had Ariana, and she'd be in the little baby, little folding stroller. We'd be at like Fashion Fair or not Fulton Mall, Manchester Mall, and we'd be pushing her. And you can see people, older people, look at us and have this look on their face like, oh, those young kids. And we're like, why are people looking at us like this? Why do they look at it like that? And then somebody said, because you guys look so young. You guys look like you're teenagers. We're like, what? No, we're not teenagers. I was 24. She was 22. And then I remember one of the funniest things, our pediatrician, Dr. Gayton, who was an amazing man altogether. He, when we first went to our first baby checkup, right? He's talking to us, and we're sitting there listening to him, and he has a clipboard and he has a blank paper, and he starts drawing stuff on the paper. Excuse me, like picture, and he's trying to explain stuff to us. And we kind of looked at each other like, what does this guy think? We don't know. What's wrong with this guy? And then I think he left the room for something. And then Margaret goes, I think he thinks we're teenagers. So like, I'm like, yeah, I think so too. Well, at the time, Margaret was going to school, and I forget what she was taking, but she had this medical book, and so she was going through that. And so the doctor comes back in, so we start talking again, and then she says something, and she uses a technical term, and he kind of just looked at her, right? And then he was like, yeah. And then I said something, and then he looked at me, and he was like, oh. And then I don't know if he asked us our age or if it clicked. Oh, they're not. And then he realized, oh, I don't have to talk to them like they're like they don't know what I'm saying. They're adults. They understand what I'm saying. That was pretty funny, you know. But we've had an amazing time together. An amazing time together. All the hardships, all the things that we've gone through, all the amazing moments we've shared together. That, man, it's a beautiful thing. Man, I can't. I can't believe she danced with me that night. I wouldn't be sitting here right now and doing this video. Yeah, I don't even know where I'd be without her. It'd probably be a mess. But she danced with me, and then she talked to me, and we've been talking ever since. My caregiver is Margaret Montalvo Aguilar, the most intelligent woman I've ever met, the fieriest woman I've ever met. Just the most loving, most caring, most generous person I've ever met. I love waking up in the morning and she's next to me. Man, I've been blessed. I'm just a lucky guy. And I know that. I don't take that for granted at all. I love you, Margaret. Thank you for being my caretaker. Thank you for sacrificing this time to make sure I'm okay. I know it's been stressful. I know you're scared. I think we all are. But we're stubborn. We're very stubborn. And we have a lot of years left. And I cannot wait to enjoy all of those years with you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.